This is a true story, told by the author through a podcast that reached 27 million listens in Indonesia. It once scared many people away from hiking mountains. The story happened in 2007, revolving around the best friends Maya and Ita. Both were young, cheerful girls, always by each other's side, sharing all the joys and sorrows in life. Maya often visited Ita's house, but there was one strange thing. She never dared step into the bathroom. Because every time she looked in that direction, Maya saw a ghost, a man with a terrifying face. It turned out the girl had long possessed the ability to see spiritual entities that normal people could not. Even so, she kept this secret to herself, never telling anyone. At home, she had an older brother named Ali, a college student, who often brought his group of friends over to hang out. That day, they were discussing plans to organize a mountain hiking expedition in the coming days. Upon hearing this, Maya asked her brother to let her and her best friend join the trip. Ali said the journey would be very tough, but the girl insisted on going to experience it. Maya then gave Ita the good news, hoping the trip would give them a memorable adventure. While they were talking, Ita absent-mindedly scratched her head and noticed a large clump of hair had fallen out, but the girl didn't think much of it and tossed it into the trash bin. The next day, Maya came to Ita's house to ask her parents for permission to go hiking. Her mother looked worried, not wanting to let the two girls go up there due to the danger. At that moment, her strict father walked in, but surprisingly he agreed to let his daughter go for a few days to relieve stress. Seeing that, the mother had no choice but to go along. Maya then said goodbye to Ita and went home to pack her things. Unexpectedly, she once again saw the ghost, the man from the bathroom, now standing right behind Ita. Maya tried to stay calm, quickly said goodbye to her friend and left. That afternoon, the group had prepared everything and were ready to depart. Maya went to Ita's house to call her and saw her talking with her father. He even handed something to Ita before leaving. The seven of them then caught a ride to Mount Gede, one of the most sacred mountains in Indonesia. On the way, Maya suddenly saw the ghost of a child standing by the roadside. Ali had long known his sister could see spirits, so he told her it was best to stay quiet. No matter what she saw, she must not speak. Late at night, the group stopped at a roadside lodge to sleep. While Maya was deep in sleep, Ita suddenly woke her up, saying she was on her period. Maya was worried this would interfere with the trip, so she suggested they both return home. However, Ita refused and said she could still handle it. The girl then went alone to the bathroom, put the blood-stained underwear into a plastic bag, tied it tightly. Suddenly, a hand reached out and snatched the bag. Ita looked up in fear and saw the ghost of an old man with a grotesque face standing there. The girl screamed loudly, making the whole group run over. After banging on the door for a while, Ita finally came out, her face still showing signs of panic. After being pressed for answers, the girl finally confessed about seeing the ghostly old man. The lodge owner overheard and admitted that previous guests had also seen the same ghost, but after a while, he had disappeared. It was unclear why he had now returned. The next morning, the group quickly packed up and hit the road. To reach the mountain's peak, they had to pass through a deep forest. At this time, Maya and Ita were still cheerful, admiring the natural scenery, unaware that something terrifying awaited them ahead. Back at Ita's house, her mother entered her room and found her daughter's hair wrap, along with a piece of paper stained with blood. She grew worried about Ita's health condition and blamed her husband for letting their daughter go somewhere dangerous. However, the father reassured her, saying the girl needed trips like this to help her grow. Back to the hiking group, after just a short distance, Ita suddenly began to feel unwell, sweating profusely. The girl then stood still in a strange manner. No matter how they called, she didn't respond. Maya saw this and shouted loudly into her friend's ear, startling her back to awareness. Worried about Ita's health, the group decided to let her sit and rest for a while. Suddenly, Ita stood up and walked straight toward the lake in the middle of the forest, throwing a black plastic bag into the water. Seeing her friend standing there for a long time without returning, Maya went to call her, but unexpectedly, Ita turned around, her eyes turning into a terrifying white color, grabbing Maya by the neck and cursing repeatedly, demanding they all leave the forest. Immediately, the boys saw what was happening and rushed in to stop her. Maya looked out into the lake and was startled to see a ghost, a woman in a white dress floating in midair. The group then questioned Ita about what had happened, but the girl said she didn't remember anything. Seeing that she seemed to be back to normal, the group quickly continued on their journey. Meanwhile at home, the mother was cooking when she accidentally dropped an egg. She was shocked to see the yolk was entirely green, and there was also something strange inside. Back with the group on the trail, Maya suddenly heard eerie laughter all around. Before she could figure out where it came from, an old man wearing a hat appeared in front of her. Maya realized that only she could see him. The old man said, her friend should not enter this forest. Suddenly, a piercing sound echoed, causing Maya and the entire group extreme pain. As the sound stopped, Ita was once again possessed. Her eyes turned a terrifying white color. She pointed at each person in the group and told them all to leave the forest, or they would pay a heavy price. Seeing Ita repeatedly having issues left the whole group exhausted. Maya discussed with her brother the idea of canceling the trip. Suddenly, Ita laughed loudly, her eyes turning red, declaring, "I will never leave this place," then quickly got up and walked straight up the mountain. Maya tried to follow her, but Ali stopped her. However, Maya was determined not to abandon her best friend in this vast forest. After chasing Ita for a while, they finally found the girl sitting alone on the path. Maya came and comforted her friend, urging her to leave the forest together and go home. Although Ida's face had gone pale from exhaustion, she still said she had to continue, that there was no turning back. A friend named Indra in the group suggested that once they reached the summit, they might find someone to help. Seeing that, the group decided to continue the journey. They trekked through the deep forest. Throughout the hike, Ida's face always looked anxious, as if she feared something was coming. As the sun set, the group finally reached the mountain peak. They were exhausted and pitched tents to sleep overnight. Maya congratulated Ita because the two of them had finally overcome the challenge, but the joy didn't last long. Suddenly, Ita began convulsing again. Everyone brought her into the tent and tried to wake her, but this time, the situation was much worse. Because she was on her period, blood was flowing everywhere. Seeing that there were a few nearby groups camping, Indra quickly ran to ask them for help. Fortunately, one man who was knowledgeable in spiritual practices rushed over, leaned close to her ear, and began chanting non-stop. Thanks to the help of those around, Ita finally regained consciousness. The next morning, the group woke early and quickly packed up to head back. Maya went looking for Ita and saw her sitting alone on a rock. Ita smiled and said, "One day, please come back here and meet me again, okay?" Maya didn't understand what her friend meant, but didn't think much of it. Because of the incident the day before, Ita's shirt had gotten dirty, so Maya let her borrow hers. Ita thanked her and said she would return it soon. On the return trip, everything seemed normal, except that Ita constantly showed strange behavior. She kept looking back, as if reluctant to leave something behind, and reminded Maya to return to the mountain to see her again. Although the group made it back safely, Maya felt a sense of unease in her heart. When they got home, Ita smiled and said goodbye before leaving. Thinking she was overthinking it, Maya reassured herself that everything was fine. But that night while sleeping, her mother suddenly ran in, panicked, and informed her that Ita was in trouble. Maya rushed to her friend's house and saw her at that moment, her eyes blood red, and her mouth laughing maniacally. Ita's parents quickly called in a spiritual master to help, but the demon inside the girl seemed completely unafraid. She even broke her own fingernails in front of him to show her power. They had no choice but to take Ita to the hospital. Her father, furious, scolded both Ali and Maya, blaming them for causing his daughter to end up like this. Later, the doctor arrived and announced that the illness Ita was suffering from was beyond their ability to treat. Her parents were shocked and devastated upon hearing this. The next day at school, Maya looked at the empty desk beside her with sadness. She recalled the happy times she had shared with Ita and blamed herself for inviting her to climb the mountain, which led to this tragedy. After class, Maya stopped by the hospital to visit her best friend. At this point, Ita's condition had worsened. Her belly was swollen and her face was pale and lifeless. Her mother had invited many shamans to help. After examining, they said the reason Ita was possessed by a demon was because she had thrown a filthy object into the sacred forest. However, even after thinking hard, her mother still didn't know what that object was. Maya, hearing this, suddenly remembered the blood-stained underwear of her best friend, which Ita might have thrown into the lake. She went home and asked her brother, but Ali revealed that they had checked Ita's backpack and found her underwear still inside, completely untouched. That night at the hospital, when her mother arrived at her daughter's room, she saw a man in black clothes walking out from inside. She tried to ask him, but he quickly left. Around midnight, while Ita was half asleep, she was terrified to see a ghost, a man with frightening red eyes. He slowly walked over and brought his face close to hers, making her extremely scared. Blood flowed continuously from both of her ears. The next day, Ita told Maya about the man with red eyes. She was deeply frightened, saying he came to her every night. Maya tried to reassure her that everything would be okay, but after recalling Ita's description, Maya suddenly realized the ghost her friend had seen was the same one she had seen in Ita's bathroom. It seemed there was some kind of connection. That day at the hospital, when Ita's mother came to care for her, she again saw the mysterious man in black, staring straight at her. But when she blinked, he was gone. That evening, while at home, Maya suddenly heard someone knocking at the door. She opened it and was shocked to see Ita. Her friend had recovered and came by to return the shirt she borrowed at the mountain peak. Ita thanked her before saying goodbye and leaving. Maya was overjoyed, thinking her friend had recovered. But late that night, while she was asleep, Ali came running with alarming news. Ita was in critical condition. Maya rushed to the hospital and found her friend still lying there, her body completely unresponsive. The doctors tried to save her, but Ita kept vomiting blood and eventually passed away in front of everyone. At her funeral, her mother saw the man in black from earlier, appearing once again with a sinister smile. Her father became furious and chased him away. After the funeral, Maya seemed like a soul without purpose, completely unable to accept what had happened. Even in her dreams, she still saw Ita, in that fateful day before they began their mountain journey. It was then that Maya remembered that it was Ita's father who had given her the black plastic bag before the trip. Everything gradually became clear. At Ita's house, her mother accidentally entered the storage room and found it filled with ritual offerings. Knowing he'd been discovered, her father finally confessed that his business had been unstable recently due to sabotage by a competitor. So, he had turned to black magic to curse the rival's company. However, this enraged them, and they used the same method to curse his whole family in return. One day, he accidentally found a voodoo doll buried in the front yard. Believing it was the black magic his rivals had used, he gave it to Ita, asking her to dispose of it somewhere far away. Unfortunately, that very thing had led to her death. Her mother was furious upon learning the truth, while her father was filled with regret, realizing that all of it was caused by him. At the end of the film, 2 years later, Maya and her brother's group returned to the mountain from that day. As she passed by the cliff, she suddenly remembered Ita. While standing in a daze, her friend suddenly appeared behind her, smiling and saying, "I knew you'd come back to see me." Maya was overwhelmed with emotion as she finally saw the familiar face of her best friend again. After watching the movie, one can only say, when you're about to do something but feel blocked, it's best not to be stubborn and give up, because it may not be bad luck, but a warning. The movie ends here. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the exciting upcoming films. Thank you and goodbye.